Crime is ranked as a top concern for New York voters. The New York City Police Department is on track to see more than 4,000 cops retire or resign before the end of the year, a rate not seen since the post-9/11 exodus. Over 3,000 officers have already fled the force, which is a 42% jump from last year. New York City Councilman Joe Borelli joins me now. Councilman, good morning to you. What is going to happen to New York as a result of this?
Well, we're going to simply be short-staffed, even more so than we are now. We're seeing police officers retire, and unfortunately, we're not seeing people join the ranks in the same numbers. And frankly, Carly, I really can't blame some of these officers. Policing has always been a very dangerous job. You always run the risk of danger and being shot and things like that. But in New York City, you also run the risk of losing your pension, say, for wrestling with a suspect and compressing their diaphragm. You've lost qualified immunity, so you're now under some personal liability for doing your job. And of course, we have more investigatory entities that investigate police officers than almost any other large city. So it's almost not even worth it anymore for New York City police officers to be police officers because everything is really stacked against them.
Yeah, that's right. When crime is already up and there's a shortage of police officers, that's just an absolute recipe for disaster. And it may be one of the reasons we're seeing these situations play out. A person was randomly shoved onto the New York City subway tracks for the third time in a week and the 13th time this year. And because of this, Mayor Eric Adams is issuing this advice to New Yorkers. Listen.
You were right about, not having your iPods in, not focusing on our phone. And I say yes to that. I do the same. And we put out a video and information telling people about being aware of what's around them.
Yeah, so that advice delivered with good intentions, Councilman, but what's it going to take for New Yorkers not to be on high alert just to get into work in the morning?
Yeah, I mean, my God, the problem with what he's saying is that he's absolutely right. You now have to be on high alert. You have to have your head on a swivel to ride the New York City subway system. 13 people pushed in front of a train. That's not a one-off. That's not a one crazy person acting, with mental illness or something like that. This is a crisis. And the mayor, by the way, has been pretty consistent in saying we need more police officers in our subway system. The governor, the MTA is a state agency. The governor has been the one who hasn't been consistent, and she's been the one to pump the brakes on this plan up until recently, maybe this week, when some polls came out showing that she now has to change her direction of her campaign. Yeah,
that's a great point. And to your point on this, Mayor Adams and Kathy Hochul, they announced this plan to add 1,200 police overtime shifts daily to watch the subway system. But then you have the Police Benevolent Association president, Pat Lynch. He said that that's unsustainable because the police are already doing so many overtime shifts. This is going to stretch them even thinner. What's your reaction to this, and will this plan even work?
Yeah, I mean, both of these topics are related to each other. We're doing police overtime shifts. We don't have the officers themselves. We don't have the officers themselves because so many are retiring without new ones joining the force. So this is unfortunately the only solution, and I understand what the PBA president is trying to say, but there is no option B. Option A is the only one we can go with right now, and that's flooding the subway systems. The problem we have, though, is still with state law, in that even when we arrest someone or we try to confine somebody mentally ill, they are out of confinement within hours often before that cop even gets off his or her overtime shift.
Yeah, that's right. And the New York Post is even highlighting this issue of subway crime on the cover today. It says push to the edge. It's a concern for so many New Yorkers who are just trying to get to work every single morning. Councilman, I also want to ask you about the migrant tent facility in New York City. It was built to house up to 1,000 people, and the New York Post is reporting that only 7 people are living there now. What's going on here? Why is it so empty?
Well, that's like one Xbox per migrant, I guess. Look, I actually hope we actually use these tents. The option, other than using this tent, is to continue using long-term hotel rentals in regular, average residential neighborhoods around New York City. I mean, I'm not concerned that this costs a lot of money. I'm more concerned that we're not using it. All male migrants should be housed there as long as possible before we start troubling neighborhoods with just packs of migrants going door to door. That's what's unfortunately happening in my neighborhood, where there's one hotel having migrants, and I imagine it's the same in many neighborhoods around the city. That's the frustration of so many New Yorkers, even, by the way, New Yorkers who believe in this problem and want to help these folks.
Councilman Joe Borelli, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank Thank you.